Hi, y'all. Welcome to GradMissions Office Hours. I'm Autumn.
Hey everyone, I'm Lizanne.
Hi everyone, I'm Logan.
We are coming to you with a State of the Union of sorts, right? We're going to take over every channel. And some of you are probably too young to remember this, but when the president used to talk, he would be on every single channel. There's nothing to do except you just had to listen to the president talk. And so that's what we're doing today. We're taking over your airwaves, we're taking over your Spotify, your YouTube, and we're going to give you a State of the Union in 4 different spaces. So the first space is current med school applicants. Second space is current law school applicants. Third place is future med school applicants. Fourth place is future law school applicants. So if you fall into any of those camps, amazing. If you don't, why are you here? This is not a true crime podcast. You need to go no, you can stay. Maybe you're supporting one of them.
It's my grandma.
Hi. Hi, Mom. Yes, so we're gonna just kind of break it down because as we keep our ear to the ground and talk to people who are future lawyers and doctors, they typically fall into one of these 4 camps. And so one of the frequent things that we are asked is, "Oh, am I too late?" The answer is probably yes, but we can manage that. So let's start at the top with if you applied to med school, MD or DO this cycle. So you're hoping to start medical school, get your white coat in August of 2026. What's going on in your life right now?
Well, I feel like from the students I've talked to, some are getting interview offers, some are interviewing, some have already interviewed, and some have heard nothing.
Yeah.
Are
Yep.
we worried for the ones that have heard nothing?
I think if you've heard nothing at all from med schools, you could be a little worried. Um, our clients all have had at least one interview invite. Um, and so what that tells me is it's still very early in the game, right? Interviews go through Jan, Feb, sometimes even into March. So that's okay. You still have time to be interviewed. But if you haven't heard an interview whisper from any of your schools, you might want to throw a couple more DO schools on your list and just submit some Hail Mary applications if you definitely want to go to med school this cycle.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
What about law?
It's a little bit earlier in the cycle for law because med school apps opened May 1. Law school applications didn't open until September 1. And so if you are applying to law school this cycle, hopefully your applications are already in. If not, Thanksgiving really should be your goal. If you're going to wait and see that November LSAT score and then hit submit, okay, that's not my favorite option, but if that's what you're doing, great. A lot of our law clients right now, a handful have already been admitted, which is great with scholarship. A handful of them are interviewing. In fact, we have someone participating in a Yale interview here in about 30 minutes, so excited for her. We have a couple of other folks who have some kind of higher, U Chicago, some of these schools who do live or asynchronous interviews, they're doing that. But it is still really early days. Some of the top schools say they won't start looking at applications until December. So it's okay if law-wise you haven't heard anything, but it's also not too late to go ahead and add 3 to 5 schools to your list and submit those applications and still be in an early wave. You're never going to be sitting in February wishing you hadn't applied to so many schools. You could definitely be sitting in February saying like, "Ooh, I should have added a few more target and safety schools."
And I was talking to someone yesterday who's taking the January LSAT, which is for a lot of the schools are saying that's the absolute last LSAT they'll consider for this cycle, which is
Yeah.
new to me. It used to be February, but if that is you and you're taking the January LSAT, go ahead and get your law applications in now. Even before you even take the LSAT and before that LSAT score posts.
Mm.
So that when the LSAT score post on January 28th, or I think that's the day, they're ready to review your application. Because if you wait until the score posts at the end of January and then apply, it might not be the news that you want to hear. It's just speaking honestly.
No, if you're going to wait and apply in January, this cycle, you need to just wait and apply in September. You're really just throwing away your time and money and spend this year prepping for the LSAT, reading fiction, getting your body really fit and healthy, ready to be a really healthy 1L because you are just going to have stress and belly acid and hair falling out if you're going to be applying too much after Thanksgiving this cycle.
Or you're not going to have really great scholarship offers, which is a lot of the work that we do here. It's application and scholarship.
That's
So
Let's get into a little happier news. So, what if you are thinking about applying to med school and you want to start in fall of 2027? That's when you want to shrug into that white coat.
I would say MCAT prep
Yep.
would be on your mind,
Mhm.
right?
That's right.
So preparing for MCAT spring of your junior year,
Mhm.
taking MCAT, what, early summer,
Early
late
summer.
spring?
That's right. If
Okay.
biochemistry isn't in your past, it needs to be in your very immediate future, meaning you need to be enrolled in biochem in the spring. Go sit in your counselor's office until they agree to make a spot for you in biochem for spring because unless you're taking a gap year, you must have that biochem your junior year.
So that's going to help us with MCAT. It's going to help us with USMLE.
Yep.
And not every school, not every med school requires biochem, right?
It's typically not a prerequisite. It's recommended, but it's not a prerequisite. But I think schools just assume that you're going to take biochemistry because it is basically the main scaffold for the MCAT, the densest information on the MCAT. And so I think schools just assume you're going to take biochem, but because they don't make it a formal prerequisite, undergrads skip it and then they do terribly on the MCAT.
So, okay, MCAT should be top of mind. What about like extracurricular types of things? What should we hopefully have already done?
Huh?
And then what should we be trying to cram in here at the 11th hour?
So hopefully you've already been involved in some student organizations, in some volunteer capacity, in some, you, things like that. Maybe you've risen to a leadership position, so you can talk about that. A very common interview question is tell us about a time when your roles changed in an organization. Well, if you used to be just a member of a student org and now you're the treasurer, you could talk about that. Like it really leads itself to kind of that leadership incentive. Um, you need to know that when your application opens up in May for you to, so we are in November, okay? December, January, February, March, April, May. You are 6 months from starting your med school application. If you want to start fall 27, 6 months. So you think you have all the time in the world, and I'm just here to tell you right now that it's time to start building. Future you'll really thank you for doing this work. So you will not just be listing your extracurriculars on your applications to med school. You will be writing about them and almost like a mini personal statement, 750 characters or 1325 plus 750 if it's your most meaningful. So doing some self-reflection, remembering the things that you've done while you're involved in those extracurriculars and journaling about them. I know it sounds so silly. Even a voice note. Logan and I love a voice note. Record a voice note about those experiences, being reflective. What did you bring to the position or the org? What are you taking away from it that you're going to apply in med school and in your life as a physician? Being really introspective is the way that you show maturation in your application.
Okay, follow-up question on that. In a previous episode, we almost touched on EMT experience.
Oh yeah.
Is the Now seems like too late to try to become an EMT because I think it's a long-term process. But if we were going to back this timeline up, do you want to touch a little bit on how valuable that experience is?
I love an EMT experience because you are going to have the most hands dirty patient experience. One of the complaints that we hear from admissions committees at med school is they have a lot of shadowing or volunteer experience, but they don't have much hands dirty patient experience. EMT, I mean, you're going to have that experience. And a lot of times if you're on a campus, you can kind of combine that. Like we have clients who work the football games at their college campus and they're getting their hours, they're getting to be on the field at a football game, like so much fun. But then they also can compare it to rural experiences that they have in that same college town and being able to compare sociodeterminants of health, access to care, all of those things. EMT is one of my very favorite experiences that you can do. Scribing is great because you kind of learn some of that medical coding, that medical vernacular. Phlebotomy is another one. It's pretty low barrier to get involved, and you learn how to do some of those things. A medical assistant is another really great way. And then, of course, research, right? Anymore, it's pretty necessary to have at least some research experience, to have an LOR from a PI or a teammate at the lab. So that's another thing that you could really start working toward. And you can have those hours in progress on your application. It's not like you have to have already had it. You can say these are how many hours I've had. These are how many hours I expect to have before I start med school. So it's not too late.
Speaking of research, you also usually recommend trying to squeeze a stats class in there.
Oh, yeah. Stats is so helpful. Law and med. Stats is your friend. And in med school space, PIs look for folks with a statistics background because they need you to help interpret the data. And if you are like 82% of people who go to med school and you're a biology major and you took one stats class in high school or maybe your freshman year, it's not going to be fresh. So the more you can dig into stats, the better off you're going to be if research is your end goal.
Okay, so speaking of law then,
Yeah.
if you are either, realizing you're too late in this cycle and going to take a year off, or maybe you're a junior right now, what's the game plan for the next cycle?
What do you think, Lizanne?
The time is now. It's time to start. Just
Your
like
Christmas list is an LSAT prep course. That's what you ask Santa
Yes.
for.
and an admissions accelerated with GradMissions, like
That's right.
both sets of grandparents, however you but yeah, the time is like you're saying, autumn, you think you have all this time. And I mean, I guess you could, but just taking it piece by piece, I think the best applications come when you're able to work them intentionally and spend time on different pieces of the application and not trying to cram writing a thoughtful personal statement while you're studying for the LSAT while you're in your senior year. And
Right.
just like the MCAT for med school, go ahead and get into an LSAT prep program, or at least figure out the best time to do that. Autumn and I, we hate the June test. We'll say it in every episode
Yeah.
because you're finishing up finals and then you're going right into it.
I
So
also think
really,
it's when LSAT gets experimental. I think it's when they throw the most haywire things in there because it's kind of a weird mercurial like time, and they figure people are going to be taking it again, or this is just a vanity retake. So I feel like the weirdest things happen in LSAT administrations in June.
absolutely. And so, thinking about that, thinking about the timing of what your coursework and your workload would look like. So really thinking about starting that LSAT prep soon is very, very important. And then kind of like with a professor, thinking about professors that you can get for your LORs, start going to office hours. They
Mhm.
can't write a letter for you if they don't know you.
That's right.
So really just digging into your coursework, bringing up that GPA if you need to, or working towards that, or maintaining that great GPA. We talked about in a previous episode, you don't really need quote unquote legal experience, but if you're
Nope, lots
able
of
to
stuff
spend
here.
summer doing something where you have that exposure, and kind of learning the procedural aspect of the law, I think can really be helpful when you're coming into law school, or seeing, what you're passionate about or what you don't like can just serve as a motivator for that one whole year. And also help you, your experiences writing your resume and then your personal statement, writing about why you want to go to law school. What other pieces? Yeah, go into office hours, really focusing on your studies. You don't have to be in 18 million clubs. Maybe pick one or two that you
No.
care about. I was just talking with a student about that last night, a client, excuse me, about how she really found this group that she loves being a part of. And she's really started as a member and now she's the president. And like, that just looks really great for a resume, an interview, being able to talk about that passionately, writing your essays about those things. So just thinking about making your experiences intentional,
That's right.
working really hard on your grades, and also just being selective with what you're doing outside of class and getting that LSAT prep.
That's right. And for any of these cases that we've just talked about, well, I mean, if you're a current med school applicant and you haven't gotten any interviews, you might want to start thinking about retaking the MCAT, engaging someone to look at your writing and figure out, because there's a chance you may need to reapply next cycle. That's not the case with our clients, but if you're not one of our clients, it's something you might want to think about. But at any of these spectrums, these 4 little categories that we did a State of the Union about, GradMissions can help. We have a free 20-minute strategy call where we will talk about exactly where you are and we'll give you a game plan. A lot of people leave those 20 minutes and that's all they need. And that's great. Like, I feel so good that we're able to provide for free really sound advice that didn't require you to plumb the depths of Reddit to get it, right? And then a lot of those folks see the plan that we have for them and they do end up signing up and working with us for about a year. It's about a year of work that we do together and we're building those relationships. But then the great part of it is when you get into your 1L year, your MS1, and you have a success, you text us and you tell us, like, oh my gosh, like, look what I did. And there is something about telling your story in a way that makes you feel empowered. Hearing us read aloud your story back to you in our writers' workshops, you start MS1 or 1L year with those shoulders back because you know who you are. And that might be the secretest of the secret sauce in our work at GradMissions.
Absolutely. And that's the part that we love, is being able to, and we're not writing anyone's story. You've already written it, but telling you this is what we're taking and running with it. This is such a great story. And it is unique. People are like, oh, well, not, everything I have is just like everybody else's. No, it's not. And it's so fun to see that come to fruition.
Okay, well, I can see that Autumn's got a busy day ahead, as does Lizanne and myself.
We have
So
clients in the waiting room right now waiting for us. So
yes, so we'll go ahead and wrap our State of the Union up. It's great to talk to you all today. We will see you all next week and follow us on some socials to see what we're up to.
try it at grad_.
Bye, everybody.
See y'all next week. Bye.